Good evening, friends. It's a late start to a late start. Taylor, we see you crying about it already. Shut the fuck up. It's week 7. Half the league is 2-4. I think 4 people are happy about how this thing is going down, Dan. I don't think you and I are one of them, considering our names on tonight's show. So,
No, my only thing I got going for me is I'm better than you.
yeah, I mean, you know what? If that's the only thing you need to worry about, then 13 people in this league should feel pretty happy right now. Because I'm in the cellar, Dan. I don't
You
know
are
the last time I was in the cellar.
about
Week
2 weeks
2,
ago.
well, yeah, that's fair too. But I mean, legitimately in the cellar. Season 2, when I tanked on purpose because we used to feed the first draft pick to the person who finished last. And when I say tanked on purpose, obviously not the whole season, just when I realized it was over, I said, fuck it.
Oh,
But
so week 2, got it.
yeah, week 2, whatever. Fantasy sucks. I don't even know why we're doing this show. Let's get the records up on the screen.
It's for our 3 viewers.
Exactly. Rob P remains undefeated, 6-0. Greg, he'll come up here in a second, 5-1. Terry and Kenny, surprise of the century, 4-2. Stevie, Rob, and Darren, 3-3. And then everybody else, every one of us, is 2-4. But all 2-4s are not created equal because Taylor's 2-4 at 697 points, and I'm 2-4 at 514 points. It's a rough season, Dan. I'll jump into the first thing I learned last week, and that was Greg 159 point high score, which I went back and looked. That is the highest point total we've seen this season. Certainly not what we expected after the draft.
I'm just happy I could have been part of it.
Oh, I didn't even realize. Was he playing you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one hurt.
Yeah, I think it was last week. Or no, last week I put up another shitty score. The week before was where I actually put up a good score and still lost. Nathan, I mean, it sounds like half the league is going to be ready to quit after this season. You might just be taking this bitch over after this. Phil points out everybody's playing for the last playoff spot. I wouldn't say the rest of us, unless you were saying the rest of us except for me, because I don't know that I'm playing for the last playoff spot. And if I don't get the news that McCaffrey is back next week, Dan, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to be a big old crybaby about everything. Dan, I'm going to continue, and then I'll let you chime in here. I think we could say the exact opposite from Eric from last week. We loved his draft, but he falls to 2-4. And in a week where the last 2 weeks we're starting to see really decent scores from everybody, Eric's the only one who doesn't manage to hit 80 points last week. I think he may be regretting buying those Dolphins at this point.
Yeah, Dolphins aren't too good. Let me ask you this. You said something about the surprises. What's your biggest surprise? Greg at 5-1 or Kenny at 4-2?
Oh, it's got it. I made the joke at the draft that if Greg makes the playoffs, we have to disband the league because of how bad that draft was. So Kenny's a hustler, and sometimes it works in his favor, sometimes it doesn't. Last season, we saw it blow up in his face the entire time. This season, it's clearly working. And what Greg has done, comically, how bad that draft was. Comically. And not so much bad from a player perspective, bad from a team makeups perspective. He left with 3 or 4 tight ends, 2 or 3 quarterbacks after keeping a quarterback, multiple at every position, including kicker. No offense to Greg, we've talked about what happened, but it was a joke of a draft, and my man is 5-1. So clearly, player-wise, it worked. And Phil even points out from last season, where he wasn't setting lineups due to health issues, to now be second place in the league. I mean, Greg is the biggest surprise, and it's a good surprise. Just embarrassing for the rest of us, plain and simple.
See, I always look at Kenny's team as like Wile E. Coyote. He always has like these great ideas that usually will eventually blow up in his face. I fully expect this year to still Wile E. Coyote him.
The funny thing about Kenny is he's dodging bullets on top of everything else. He's doing this with Anthony Richardson, who had 1 good week, Jonathan Taylor, who had 1 good week. He has way too many Colts on his team. he acquired Justin Fields and hasn't cut him yet, even though the Steelers are already not starting him. He's dodging bullets, and he's going to dodge another one this week, which just chaps my ass because, like, that should have been a fucking win with the way his team is falling apart, but he just keeps winning and I keep losing. So I guess I can sit here and cry about it all I want. Nothing's going to change. It's the most depressing start of the show I think I've ever done in our history of the Massillon Football League show. Dan,
We'll get used to it. You got a lot of weeks left this season.
I was going to say I'm going to be a whiny bitch for so many weeks. It's not good. What I can tell you is, unlike when Dan takes me to the woodshed in college football, I won't be sitting here crying, threatening to quit every week. I'm here for the long haul, take my L's like a man. Dan, the last thing I want to bring up, Baker Mayfield looking just like that dude at quarterback. Brian, you'll find this hilarious, Dan. Speaking of Ryan throwing a temper tantrum, Brian sent me a text earlier this season and was like, hey, looks like you were just a few years early on Baker Mayfield. I think I owe you an apology.
So here's the thing for me and the whole Baker Mayfield thing is that I get so much joy out of watching the Cleveland fans cry over how he's doing it somewhere else. Now they wish they still had him. But I truly just do not like Baker
I know
Mayfield.
You don't. Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like such a torn thing. I want him to be successful just to listen to the Browns fans cry. But at the same time, I don't want to see him just be successful because I think he's just a bad person.
I watched him do a press conference today, or at least was this week. I didn't know when it happened. Did not know, never occurred to me that he and Mark Andrews played together at Oklahoma and that they are apparently best friends. Mark Andrews was in his wedding, but also Mark Andrews takes football so seriously, he will not fraternize with players on other teams during the season and ignores Baker for the entire season. So,
well, he knows how Lamar treats him.
Fair. So yeah, super interesting stuff there. Dan, I kind of took over this segment with just all of my woe. Did you have anything you learned from week 6 that you didn't get a chance to talk about?
No, I think I'm still just too hurt over watching Greg just dismantle my team with his monster week and best week of the season. Just, I didn't want to look at anything else. It just hurt. Yeah.
Let's talk about the trades. I'll let you pick and choose any ones you want to discuss here. So I got the party started during last week's games. Bought Caleb Williams for a 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Stevie is sold on Baker Mayfield. He's sprung for his guy right now, so he was willing to move Caleb Williams. And I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but I had a lot of picks that I really didn't need, and I didn't think I was going to get any trades done, so I bought Caleb Williams. Taylor sends Bijan Robinson and Justin Fields and Bijan Robinson to Kenny for Drake London, Blake Corum, and Taylor brings back a 1, 2, 4, 6 in that trade. Taylor then sends Cooper Kupp to Stevie for Ridley, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6. But then Taylor's buying from Phil, gets Stephon Diggs and Chuba Hubbard for Jalen Polk and sends a 2, 3, 4, 5 back, Dan. I know you're not a big fan of Caleb Williams, so I don't know how you feel about my trade, but do any of these jump out at you? Obviously, it was an active week for Taylor, who pointed out that he started last season 2-4 on his way to a championship, so he thinks trades are the way he's going to turn this thing around.
So just going in order of how they happen. If I'm Stevie and I do have Caleb Williams and he put up that monster morning game last week, I feel like he should have held on to him a little longer, could have maybe got more. I feel like he sold too early on that. You remember that episode of The Simpsons when Homer, his guy calls him about the stock market and like he cashes out early because he gets $100 or whatever, and then everyone else in Springfield makes like $1 million, and
they're all millionaires except for him. Yeah,
I feel like that's what Stevie just did.
That makes me feel good about my trade. I offered, so Caleb, I don't remember who did it first. Taylor put Jaden Daniels at the exact same time that Stevie put Caleb Williams. I sent them both the exact same offer. So when Stevie said he only got one offer, I'm like, damn, I overpaid. But like Taylor didn't even consider my offer. I was shocked Taylor even put him out there. At that point, it wasn't known that Justin Fields was going to lose his job despite being 4-2. Dan, a real football note. How do you feel about, like, obviously you're a big Ohio State guy. How do you feel about Justin Fields as a pro quarterback and then losing his job to Russell Wilson despite being 4-2?
I understand that he's not performing the way he needs to. I mean, I root for the guy. I think I like him. I hope he does well. But I just feel like he's not getting the job done now. He's on his second team, and it's still not working. But at the same time, he's 4-2. I couldn't imagine switching. It'd be different if you were switching from Justin Fields to a rookie, but you were switching from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson,
a very known entity,
who has not been good for a few years now.
Yeah,
that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me football wise. But what can I say? The Steelers never lose more than they win. So,
yeah, I saw somebody got great odds on the Steelers winning 9 games this season, like something like plus 230, plus 240, and they're like, it was the easiest bet I ever placed in my life. Like they go 500. So. All right, Dan, we're breaking them down in order. I will let you know. I called game of the week. It has to be Terry versus Rob P. It's the only game where 2 teams with positive records are playing each other. Otherwise, everyone's 500 or below. So, in order as they show it to me, it's me versus Kenny. I've already given him the win, as you're fully aware. Javonte Williams goes off. First time this season, 14 carries, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns on Thursday night. That is the only player we have going. Kenny is currently projected to beat me by 17 points, Dan. How do you see this game shaking out?
I mean, I want you to win just so that Kenny can stop running his mouth.
Oh, if he loses to me, this show is going to be the fuck Kenny show next week. Now losing to me is just a joke. Makes you the punchline of this league.
But like your team is such hot garbage that I just don't think I can pick you. So I'm going to go with Kenny to get the win, but I hope you win.
I think this is a situation where I'm getting retribution for giving Horvath and Brian all the shit I've given them for their bad running backs over the last few years. Caleb Williams is on bye, so I obviously have to start Geno Smith. But Justice Hill had those hot couple of weeks. I don't think I started him in either of those weeks, and then I've had to start him since, and he's done nothing. Ramondre Stevenson, it does sound like he's playing tomorrow, thank God. My wide receivers have been a continual letdown. They'll continue to be a letdown, though maybe Russell Wilson saves George Pickens. But I'm not even starting him this week. The long and short of it is, Dan, you said hot garbage. I literally wrote the first line. My team is a nightmare. I'm going to need Geno to ball, and then I need that to force that lane. I need it to be a high-scoring game where they can't run Bijan Robinson. Long and story short is, I don't even like my defense more than I like his defense. I need my defensive players and quarter or IDP and kicker to pull out a miracle, or this is a blowout. I do want to ask you, Anthony Richardson back this week taking on a struggling Miami team. Justin Herbert taking on a Arizona team that can be beaten. Kenny going Herbert over Anthony Richardson. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are I would pick up Matthew Stafford and start him over either one of those, but teach their own. Here's the thing I will say. I think you have a chance. The Bengals have done awful in Cleveland against the Browns. Absolutely awful. So there's a chance Jamar Chase does not have a monster game for him.
Yeah.
With Herbert out there, Bijan, you just never know what you're going to get from him. You could get 7 points. You do have a chance. Things have to go your way on your team, but you do have a chance. I don't think this is going to be a blowout.
I was going to say, I think where Kenny stands is, and we're spending way too much time on my game. It does not matter. Where Kenny stands a chance is not starting A-Rich, because A-Rich could go out there and put up negative points for him. Maybe just taking the slow and steady approach with Justin Herbert is the right move for Kenny, but that was the only move I questioned there. We're going to move on. 2-4 versus 3-3. Phil versus Darren. Phil jumps out to a lead. Got 29 points out of the Denver defense. What a start. Paulson Adebo and Cortland Sutton did not hold it down for Darren. Cortland Sutton actually got him a 0. Right now, after that big win, Phil is projected to win this, or that big Thursday night, Phil is projected to win this match by 34 points. And, oh, by the way, Darren, we all picked Kenny to win that first matchup. Darren also picked Kenny. Darren, I think, sent me his picks before the Thursday night game. So Darren picked himself. I'm certainly picking Phil. The Sutton 0 certainly did not help things. They're actually pretty close on offense, but this matchup, because I think Darren could battle back on offense, but the fantasy defense, Phil's already being in the bag with a big week. Kicker and IDP, I all favor Phil in these matchups. I'm taking Phil, Dan.
I'm with Phil as well. Darren's team is banged up. I saw the craziest stat. I couldn't believe it was his numbers. Patrick Mahomes has 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions so far this year.
Yep.
Terrible. I don't expect Pollard to have monster games every week. Like you said, the low scores he's already gotten. I think Phil wins by a solid 30-some points.
Ooh, you're calling that for a big one. right, Dan, I'll let you get us started here on Steve Weiss versus Steve Horvath. Battle of Steve's old rivalry matchup. Steve Weiss, 3-3. That's the Sun God squad on your left. Steve Horvath, 2-4 on the right. Steve Weiss projected to win this one by 19 points. That is after getting just a 4-point game out of Blake Groupie on Thursday night. Not the worst thing in the history of fantasy football to get a bad game out of your kicker.
How did we do last week? We never talked about that.
Oh, great call. You and I both went 4-3. Darren bounces all the way back to go 6-1. And we are all
job,
three tied at 24-18 for the season right now. So it is a dead rate or dead heat halfway through the season.
I'm about to go Stevie. I think this will be a close game. I think Horvath's receivers will keep him in it. I feel like Baker Mayfield's due for a Baker game. Baltimore's defense is good. Breece Hall going against Pittsburgh's good defense. Saquon going against the Giants really intrigues me because you expect the Eagles to force feed Saquon. But that Giants defensive line is actually really good. Philadelphia's offense has been struggling. So I'm going to say it's going to be a close game. I'm going to go with Weiss.
Okay. You said Stevie, which is what we have always called Weiss, but Horvath's family calls him Stevie. But then everything you were saying was negative on Stevie's team. And so I was like, are you about to pick Horvath here? But
no,
okay.
I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah. I said it's a bad week on defense, and I actually do have it as a blowout. I have Stevie winning every other position. In fact, it's a big win, except for Justin Jefferson. Darren also has Stevie on this one, so we are a consensus. Steve Weiss taking down the battle of the Steves. There can be only one. Metzger, you got JR this week. Sleeper actually has this projected as a pretty close game, only has you up by less than 2 points. Neither of you had a Thursday night matchup, so I'll break this down real quick. It's close. And I think if James Cook were 100% Dan, I would give you the win on this one. But I don't trust Turf Toe, and I'm going to bet against Turf Toe. I'm going to go with JR, but I'm also going to say I think he's starting the wrong quarterback. Minnesota has been pretty tough defense. Jared Goff has been hit or miss. And then you have Kirk Cousins going up against Seattle, which is, I think, the highest over-under on the week. Not only is it the highest over-under, Atlanta is projected the highest total implied points, or second highest. Washington's the highest. So Atlanta is projected to be the second highest scoring this week. I think he's making a mistake at quarterback. I'm going to give the win to JR, but I won't be surprised if you win.
I'm going to take myself. I think with both terrible teams, it'll probably be a nice 82-80 victory for one of us. I'm just gonna go with myself. Hope for the best. I'm interested to see how Wilson does against the Pittsburgh defense with Adams in New York with him. How's that affect him? Again, to have a big one against the good Baltimore defense. I think it's gonna be a low scoring game. Hopefully, I can pull it out. If not, my team name will be Fire Sale.
Oh, I think I said Taylor just corrected me. I never switched over to, I don't know what it was doing. I said it was Blake Groupie who only got Stevie points. It was Stevie's defense. It doesn't change anything for me. Does suck to get a bad week out of your defense, but apparently I said Blake Groupie. Taylor's correcting me in the chat right now. Dan, you're the only one to pick yourself. So Darren and I both have JR winning this matchup. So that could be one that changes the fates of how the fantasy season goes down a little bit when it comes to this game. As I mentioned, we're going to skip the one matchup, which I think might be the best matchup of the week. We're going to jump over to Rob and Greg, another former rivalry, 5-1 versus 3-3. Dan, nobody had a Thursday night game. I'll let you get us started on this one.
Can Greg have monster back-to-back weeks? I don't think so. I'm going with Mott's. They're both decent. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know about the whole Tank Bigsby versus ETN he's got going on, but
right. So ETN, they're slow playing. It seems like he's going to be hurt, and like miss multiple weeks, but they haven't officially announced him as out yet.
I will say Jordan Love does scare me. He could have a big game against Houston, but Mott's has been my guy all year. I'm going to stick with him.
I'm going Greg here. It's a crazy even matchup for me. I think Greg gets the slight edge with David Montgomery and Chris Godwin. So that's what's giving me the W. I like this matchup pretty much everywhere. I'm a big David Montgomery guy. I'm a big Chris Godwin guy. They're both playing really well this season. So I'm giving it to Greg on that slight edge. But Darren agrees with you. So this is one where we have gotten different again. I just realized, okay, I was going to say they changed the order up on me a little bit, but they didn't. They just moved this one down to the bottom and I didn't see it. So now we get into Taylor versus Eric. I would say this is the second biggest surprise for me. The fact that both of these teams are 2-1. Sleeper has this projected very close. Taylor with just over a 1-point victory. Taylor got mediocrity out of Alvin Kamara, 7.3 points, and that was his 4 points on Blake Groupie. I don't know where I got to Groupie, what I did wrong there. That was super weird. But the long and short of it is, while those were not great for Taylor, I don't think it's going to be enough to matter. His new squad, what he's put together for these trades, specifically two of the new players, Kyron Williams has been there and just a great pickup by Taylor, but then bringing in Drake London and Stephon Diggs, who both should have big weeks. I think that's going to be too much for Eric. I'm picking Taylor in this one. Darren picked Taylor and also said it is his blowout of the week. Dan,
I'm going Taylor as well. I don't think it's a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game.
I've been meaning to go back and see like the games that we call blowouts to see if any of them are blowouts. I need to pay better attention to that. Maybe I need to start working that into my what did we learn, but I never see if I'm ever right when we actually call a game a blowout. I know the 1 week I said a game was a blowout and it ended up being within 2 points, but it's not like it's a surprise with me being wrong about anything. So. All right, Dan, that brings us to the game of the week. Darren called something else the game of the week. I don't even remember what game it was. I think it was the Rob Mott's game, but I'm looking at this 4-2 Terry versus 6-0 Rob P. Nobody with a Thursday night matchup. Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen, arguably two of the three best quarterbacks in fantasy football right now. Derrick Henry, the king yet again. I'll let you get us started here, Dan. What do you think?
I'm going with Rob, man. I think Rob goes undefeated this whole season. I don't think anybody's going to beat him. This team is loaded. He did a great job.
Spoiler alert, Darren and I disagree with you. So,
spoiler alert, that means I'm going to be right.
I was going to say, yeah, someone's going to be right. Someone's going to be wrong here. I cut you off, though. If there's anything else you want to say about Rob's team.
No, we're good, man. I think he takes this one home. Terry has a good team. He's doing a great job. I think Rob gets the win.
It's a stack roster for both teams, in my opinion, but Rob has a great roster. This is no disrespect to Rob. It's easily the best matchup of the week, but for me, I love Terry's running backs. I love Rob's wide receivers. However, if Brian Robinson were 100% healthy, I would maybe give the edge to Rob. But I don't think that he is, and I think we're going to see more Austin Eckler in this game. And because of that, and George Kittle goes up against Kansas City, one of the worst teams in regards to covering the tight end, and he's just been so good as of late. I got to give the win to Terry here. There is a matchup I want to ask you about, Dan. I don't know how much you got to pay attention to football last week, but Demario Douglas started to look really. Did he get cut from one of these teams? Why am I asking about this? This is in my notes.
I have no idea.
Who did I have on here? I said I put it for the wrong matchup. It was in the last matchup where it was Eric's matchup. Mario Douglas over Jalen Waddle. Fair warning, everybody. I was a little drunk when I was making my list, and Dan doesn't even have preparation, so I don't know exactly where I was going with any of this. However, it doesn't matter at all. I put that on the wrong note. I'm going with Terry in this matchup. I think Rob P gets taken down mainly by George Kittle. That's what it really comes down to for me. So, that's what I get for podcasting drunk and tired, Dan. But that gets us through the week. Let's get to the game. We had a really good week 2 weeks ago, Dan. We all came crashing down to earth this week. I scored 28 points. You scored 24 points. Darren scored 28 points, but Taylor was the tallest midget with 41 points. He had Jaden Daniels and Bijan Robinson. Taylor takes down the win. Guys, if you're not familiar, while Dan and I announce ours, give me your best flex option and your best quarterback option. We will keep notes. We will announce a winner. Darren got his in already. Darren riding the Baker Mayfield trade. Dan is taking Baker Mayfield and Drake London. I imagine you still want me to go first, or do you want to jump in here?
Absolutely. Go
All
right
right.
ahead, sir.
I'm going to ride what we've been dealing with in fantasy football and say I think Lamar Jackson has a great matchup this week. He has the Monday night matchup. I want to see how this all plays out. I think he's going to be able to ball against a very bad Tampa Bay defense. Hopefully Baker can keep it a game. So I'm going the other end of the Baker Mayfield. I'm going to go Lamar Jackson. And Kyron Williams is going up against a team that struggles to stop the run. They have given up a running back touchdown in every game this season but one. And against Carolina, the Raiders gave up 2 running back touchdowns. I think Kyron Williams finds the end zone multiple times this week. I'm going Lamar Jackson and Kyron Williams.
Interesting. Nice picks. They're cute.
Thank you. I thought they were great too. Taylor's taking Daniels in London. He just dropped it in the chat.
I am going to go Jordan Love and Jaden Reed.
Jordan Love and Jaden Reed with the stack. Any particular reason you want to give on that?
I just think it's going to be a high-scoring game for them this week. Going against Houston, they're both at the battle. Jordan Love's looked good. Jaden Reed's number one option. I'm going to run with it.
And we got another stack from Kenny. First time playing along this season. He's going with your boy Burrow and Chase taking on that Browns defense. I don't know that that's a bad pick, but wait, hold on. Taylor said, show my Rob take. He said, all right, Taylor wants this up on the screen. Rob's team can be great in the regular season, but he's going to get blown out in the playoffs. I've seen this story before. So Taylor out here talking his shit. I agree with you on the Jordan Love thing. Drake May threw for 3 touchdowns against those Houston Texans last week. And so now you got Jordan Love, a much better quarterback with a lot of weapons at his disposal. I like this as a take, Dan. So there we go, folks. Sorry, it was a little bit less organized. My notes, I can't believe I put the wrong notes for the wrong games. Somehow saw Blake Groupie when I wasn't even talking about that team. What a night, Dan. Any parting words for our friends?
I think tonight's a great night to text Ryan some trades, guys. I think some things could happen.
Tomorrow is the time to text me with some trades because I don't know, Dan. 2-5. I don't know if there's coming back from that. It's a problem.
No, I think you're at the cutoff point. It's just an interesting decision of do you sell enough to get the draft picks or do you sell less to get yourself in the maybe win the first overall pick?
I will tell you right now, I'm not going to sacrifice the first overall pick. So I will hold on enough to get that. Our buddy Nate going with a stack, the newest stack in the NFL right now, Josh Allen and Amari Cooper. That's an interesting one. They did announce Amari is going to play, so that should be an interesting one. Yeah, might not be the worst time to send me some trades, but all I can say is I hate you, Kenny. I hate you, Javonte Williams. Here's a funny one. I was in the middle of trade negotiations for Javonte Williams. The guy countered, and I said, give me a second to think about it. Forgot to answer before the game started, and he yanked the offer back after Javonte scored the first touchdown. So I didn't even get a chance to buy him in a league where I'm actually contending, not just the bullshit that I have going on right now. So it's a bad season, Dan. I'm probably going to make the playoffs in less than 25% of my leagues, which is a fucking tragedy compared to where I've been the last few years. So
I feel so bad for you. I don't know how you wake up every morning and go to work every day and deal with this.
What is it? So hold on a second. Phil said if there was any more views on the trade this week, he was sure you'd have him tanking. So that was the Jalen Polk 2-3-4-5. Yeah, he gave up Diggs and Chuba. I mean, I don't know that that's a tanking move.
I don't think it's a trying to win move.
That's true as well. So, good Lord. Now they're just fighting.
Hey, listen. We're going into this week 10 of high school. Phil, it's been 3,693 days since McKinley's beat Massillon, in case you were wondering. You too, Rob. 3,000. I'm actually making that number up. It's like right around 3,700 days.
Didn't they just lose to Jackson?
Yeah, they lost to Jackson.
Is that not what I was seeing on the internet? So who gives a shit?
If you really want to see something funny, go look up the banned video from McKinley this week.
I saw something where someone said it's not a rivalry anymore; it's a tradition, and I thought that was pretty funny. So
McKinley's football team ran out on the field to start their game against Jackson. Mid-band setting up, like ran right through their band while they're trying to like in the middle of doing their thing. They weren't even done or ready. They just came out.
Wow, that's rough. All right, guys, I'm calling it a night. Dan, any parting words?
I love you guys. Have a great weekend.
I don't love you guys, and I don't love fantasy football, but I'm going to suffer through this show for 7+ more weeks, or I guess whatever the playoffs are. Who knows?
I just want to know, Ryan. I've never finished in last in this league, and I'm not.
I know you haven't, Dan. I was looking at that in the league doc the other day. My largest regret was tanking that season and seeing my name in a last place finish. But this year would be even worse, as it would not be a tank.
You tried to win and just did so.
And I still finish in last place, which total points wise, that's what's going to happen. It's a rough fucking season, plain and simple. Have a great night, everybody. But Kenny, wouldn't be mad if you fucked up your entire starting lineup tomorrow. I hate you. I hate Javonte Williams. Talk to you guys next week.